Now, before I introduce our guest for this segment, let me just say a couple of things about this guy. I have been in radio and television, mostly television, for well over 50 years. And in that time, it's been interesting who I've worked with. I've seen people come along that were good at their job and excelled at it. I've seen folk who were not so good and ended up selling used cars. And then once in a while, you get one that comes along who is better than good. I mean, he nails it. This is a picture of our guest. You see, this man is somebody you probably see Monday through Friday on television. He does the weather for KTUL, Channel 8. And what's interesting about it, he may be a meteorologist, but to me, he's a journalist, because the way he delivers the weather, which is not only accurate, is he gives it to you in such a way that you learn from it. And that is what we are supposed to be about, to give you information that you learn from. Our guest today, Dan Threlkeld, Chief Meteorologist with Channel 8. Dan.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that.
Good to have you here, lad.
It's great to be here.
Great, Tony the Tiger.
Absolutely. I enjoy RSU and the programs that are on, and I enjoy learning, and people watching this can learn some things about Guillain-Barré, about fitness, and basically about fighting back.
Well, we're going to get into that
Absolutely.
a little bit later on. First, want to know a little bit more about you. We saw the picture. When was that taken?
That was taken in the early 60s. Born in Oklahoma, raised in Oklahoma, the third of 4 children. I'm pointing out where the next cold front's coming from, I think. That's actually out in front of our house in Muskogee. And,
is that where you're from?
Grew up in Muskogee and then moved to a little town called Wilika, which is in Okfuskee County. But that is a couple of years ago, Sam, just a few.
You still remember, though, don't you?
Still remember it.
I got to ask you, at what point in your young life did you decide, I want to do that?
You know, I always thought science was interesting. And like most children, you hear thunder, you wonder where it's coming from. You see rain. Had a fascination with television and enjoyed watching Don Woods, as many people did, on Channel 8. And I didn't think it would be a career. Sometimes a career chooses you, but I thought it would be a hobby. I thought it would be something that I would have a normal job, but yet I would still keep up with clouds and rain and storms. And you know, God opened doors, and I worked my way into radio, and that led into television. And I think sometimes our path just kind of opens up for us. That's at my first radio station, and I'm all of 20 years old there, and I'm at a small radio station in Duncan, Oklahoma. Now, this was the 70s. We were listening to rock and roll, and my hair was too long, and I did not know country music at all, but I was able to work my way into that, and I learned about Hank Snow and Lefty Frizzell and all the great stuff from country music that I had no knowledge of. In fact, once I got in trouble, I played a Glenn Campbell song, and I was called into the boss's office saying that's way too progressive for Duncan. Because
that right?
I had the gall to play a Glenn Campbell song on a country
How
station.
much bluegrass would they let you play?
They were playing a lot of bluegrass. Our general managers, back when radio was not programmed by a company, the local stations ran it. We took requests, and so we were playing Bill Monroe and all those other things. So you talk about being immersed into country music. And so that's why I've enjoyed on public television the recent series. It's been fascinating because many of those songs, I played Ernest Tubbs. I know the lyrics to those because as a young man,
you grew up with them.
We played those songs over and over.
One gets the feeling in watching you that you are of the people. And I'll tell you what that tells me, that your mother, your grandmother, somebody really knew how to fry chicken.
That's right.
You guys had, Christmas was a big deal. Parades were a big deal. And it comes out in your work today. I think people, as they watch and listen to what you do now, realize you're one of them.
Well, you're very kind. you can learn more by listening than talking. And so I enjoy meeting someone and saying, what do you do? That's fascinating to me. All these different lives, to speak with someone and find out where they came from. And I just find that interesting. And that little nugget you can file away, and you never know if I need to talk about Collinsville, and I can remember what their mascot was, the Cardinals, and I can remember that. And so it's fun just talking and learning. But we take the time, and I try to tell young people this: look up, look someone in the eye, and ask them a question, especially our elderly. They have so much knowledge and wisdom if we'll just take the time to listen to that, as opposed to finding out what happened to somebody we don't really care about.
You know, Indian people and the Indian tribes have it all over non-Indian folk, because when they have someone in their family who becomes infirm, unable to care for themselves, they take that person in, or they go live with that person till they're strong enough or stronger or whatever happens. And in our society, in our culture, we see a lot of folks throw people away.
Yeah.
That's an unfortunate characteristic.
It breaks your heart. As a young person, I saw the value in listening to your parents and your grandparents tell those stories. My father talking about the Korean War, and when he got off the ship, and all those things I just found fascinating.
Don't you miss it?
You do. And now fast forward, I'm the elderly, and I'm telling people about when JFK was shot, and I was in kindergarten, and when this happened and that happened. And so it's funny how life sneaks up on you, Sam, and
Well, Dan,
you find yourself a little older.
When did you really launch your weather career? I mean, where did you go to college?
I went to college as I was on television. I worked my way in the back door, Sam. I was in radio, started on television at KSWO. That's a station, an ABC affiliate in Lawton, Oklahoma. But it was a different time then. I worked my way in the back door and started working as a reporter, doing some fill-in weather. But at the same time, I was taking classes, getting my basics done, because the goal was to get a Bachelor's of Science in Meteorology. But I wasn't able to afford it right out of high school. I knew I had to go to work. So I went to school as I was working, and it was great. I had an appreciation. I didn't want to flunk those classes. I was paying for them. And I knew to get to point B, I had to go through these very rough times. So I was taking those classes, sometimes 6 hours a semester, 12 hours, it didn't matter. I was on the journey, and that's all I wanted to be, is on that road to that final destination. And I tell students, you know, college graduation is the beginning of your education.
You've seen a lot of changes too in weather presentation, haven't you?
Really has, and some people, you know, don't realize that, you know, what we started with, there was a magic marker on a plexiglass, and those were magnetic numbers up there. And to see what it's evolved to today, the tools that we have at our discretion to analyze storms, to go to a storm chaser that's 50 miles away in his vehicle, streaming live, telling us and showing us what's going on. The things that we're doing now, Sam, we couldn't imagine.
No.
We couldn't even imagine.
You know, I recall I worked for a period of time for the Lake Station, Channel 7 in Little Rock. And the weather guys there was a huge box built, and they used the power steering motor from a Pontiac to raise and lower the weather boards. And that was, boy, listen, that was a big deal back then.
It was fascinating, and to see where we've gone. Talk about on the air, we did a 4-day forecast. There was no probability of precipitation, pops, no chance of rain. It was just, it might rain Saturday. That's all you got.
Yeah.
4 days. But now, you know, we're going out to 10. We're trying to tell you what the winds might be on day 9, what the chance of rain may be. And not only if there's a chance of rain Saturday, we'd like to know when, and we'd like to know how much. We'd like you to know where. Is it Muskogee and Poteau, or are we talking about Bartlesville and Miami? So trying to be specific. The expectation level has raised faster, I think, than the technology. They're asking us to do things that have been a big challenge in trying to get it right.
How are you family-wise? You have children?
Have 2 beautiful children, a daughter who's married that's given us 2 great grandchildren.
Probably
so we're
spoiled to death.
Oh my goodness. And my wife, we dated through high school. Her name is Joanne, and she is the best cook that I've ever met. and it reflects in my size, but we have 2 children. Our son is over in Fayetteville, so we're very fortunate, very blessed, and still love that girl as much as I did when I was a sophomore in high school.
Before we go to the break, I've got to ask you, either one of them show any tendencies to get into meteorology?
The 5-year-old did a class project, and he was able to identify the 4 different types of weather: snow and sun. They sent a copy of that to me, and that's going up in my office because you just never know.
It might be the beginning of a long career, Dan. We're going to take a short break because when we come back, this man has the most incredible story to tell involving health issues. I think you're going to be fascinated. Stay with us.